GALP.
Hey guys, and welcome to GALP. It's me, Bish. I've returned after a little bit of a break, and you might be wondering what's going on. It's none of your business. So let's talk about games, shall we? You might see that the podcast will change slightly. More episodes, hopefully, but they're shorter episodes. And then probably at the end of the week, or maybe at the end of the month, we do like our classic longer episodes. So basically throughout the week I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about, just kind of go old school, because it's been 16 years of GALP, and I remember what was like the most popular episodes of GALP were like these 10 to 20 minute episodes where I give my thoughts on stuff, and I've been getting a lot of press releases. So there is some very interesting stuff in these press releases recently, some of which I can't talk about because there are embargoes, and some of which I will talk about, and I'm excited to talk about because I get literally thousands of press releases and not all of them are related to what we do. We just get put on these email lists, and then you get that one or two gems and it's like, oh, you've caught my eye and we're going to dedicate an episode on it. And I'm thinking one of those games is going to be Hyper Yuki Snowboard Syndicate. And I'm going to talk about that in its own separate episode. Today, I am going to talk about what's been going on at the moment with Game Pass and the future of Call of Duty. Right? It's a bit weird that I haven't done an episode in a while and then I just come out of the woods to talk about Call of Duty and Xbox. It's pretty weird, but you guys may know that Call of Duty is my guilty pleasure game, right? Back in the day, I did truly care about the series, and I think I stopped playing after the Xbox 360 days, and then I came back for Call of Duty World War II with my workmates when I was working retail, and since then I've sort of been on and off it. I'll say this. I really enjoyed Modern Warfare 2019, mainly because of the nostalgia, and the general support from Infinity Ward, I think was very spot on. Bringing back a lot of classic maps, weapons, game modes, and talking about game modes, my favorite game mode in all of Call of Duty is Demolition. For those that don't know, Demolition, because they don't really bring Demolition back into the rotation anymore, but Demolition was search and destroy, but with unlimited respawns, and it was fantastic. I loved it. So yeah, newest game in the series is also set to be made by Infinity Ward, which I am a big fan of. And I believe it's Modern Warfare 4. And they tend to come in when it's time for an old school reset. Because I think for the last couple of years, we've had Treyarch making the games with Black Ops 6, Black Ops 7. And then before that, I believe it was Sledgehammer and I think Raven Software and things like that. I think it was Sledgehammer with Modern Warfare 3 and even Modern Warfare 2 in terms of multiplayer. So Infinity Ward's coming back with a supposed Modern Warfare 4. Now, apparently, all of the Call of Duty games nowadays are set in the same universe, which I think is a bit weird because Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was set in 2025, and that was very futuristic. I don't know if you guys remember, it was just like, you know, random guns that didn't really exist, like lasers and like techno, and it was pretty futuristic for the time, because I think Black Ops 2 came out in like what, 2012 or something like that. Like it was at least 10 years before. No, actually, yeah, I think Black Ops 2 was like 2012, maybe 20. Yeah, I think 2012. I'm not going to search it. Why not? It was very futuristic. Anyway, almost too futuristic considering we've already passed 2025 and Modern Warfare is set in modern times. So how is that going to work in terms of continuity? I don't know, and I don't think it really matters, and I don't think Infinity Ward really cares at this point. Why am I bringing this up? Why am I bringing up Call of Duty? As I mentioned, CoD for me is a game that I purely play for nostalgia, or a game that I play when I'm stressed or sometimes a little bit depressed, really. I don't try hard in Call of Duty, to be fair. I never really did. If you've ever played Call of Duty with me, you know I'm really good at team-based modes, but I'm shit at getting a good KD. But the gameplay loop sort of numbed me a bit if I was playing alone. So it's like I said, if I was upset or if I was whatever, I play Call of Duty and I just forget. And I've been doing that a lot recently. Right? I've been playing a lot of Black Ops 3 Zombies. A game I never played. I never really played Black Ops 3, but going back for Zombies Chronicles was fantastic. And I pretty much play all the Zombie Chronicles maps. And one thing that I noticed, and I don't know if this is actually a thing, but before I had the Zombies Chronicle maps, my matchmaking was really bad. And then when I bought all of the maps, my matchmaking improved. So I'm not sure if you want to get better matchmaking, download all the map packs, which I think used to happen in multiplayer. I think probably because if you didn't have the maps, they'd have to separate you from people who did have the maps and people who didn't for whatever reason. And obviously now Call of Duty has changed where the map packs are free, and then now it's gone to a battle pass system where you get cosmetics and hot points and XP and blah, 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 blah. Which I do think is a better system, but at least for Black Ops 3, a game from 2015. See, I remember Black Ops 3's release date. I could not remember Black Ops 2, but at least with Black Ops 3, it was still on that whole map pack thing. And I think back then PlayStation 4 had exclusivity. But I'm playing on PS5 and it actually runs really well and it's really cool. There are some things that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of, like these new guns and gobble gums. I know I'm like maybe 10 years late to talk about Black Ops 3, but my point being is, for me, it's a great series to play with the lads, you know, if you've got a group of friends. And I know my old squad, shout out to the guys. They know who they are. I don't know if they're listening, but they know who they are. You know, the guys I used to work with, I used to see them on a daily basis and I used to play CoD with them. And I think now they're playing Battlefield. I don't know what they're playing at the moment, but I sort of flip-flopped with them. I think I stopped playing with these guys when I started getting code for Call of Duty. Now, Microsoft used to actually send me code for Call of Duty, and they did with Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3. And I think Vanguard, Call of Duty Vanguard. I think the last Call of Duty game I actually paid for was, I think, Black Ops 3. Probably Black Ops 3. I played Black Ops 4 and then I returned it after a day because Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign and I wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of the zombies either. But yeah, back onto the point. I mentioned Xbox because this episode is purely about Xbox Game Pass and the future of Call of Duty. We mentioned that future and how does that intertwine with Game Pass? For those that don't know, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7 were day one Game Pass things. So if you had Game Pass Ultimate, you could play Call of Duty day one. And I have a feeling that that's what brought up the price of Game Pass, because Microsoft knew that, oh, we're giving away this game for free, you know, then we better make the most of it and actually increase the price of Game Pass so we can sort of counteract that. And I think that might have pissed off a lot of people who don't necessarily use Game Pass for Call of Duty. I'm not going to lie to you. It was one of the reasons why I went back on Game Pass. I will say this. There are some weird glitches on Call of Duty that is associated to Game Pass, in which it doesn't recognize that you have Game Pass, or it doesn't recognize that you own the game because you're a Game Pass Ultimate member, and you have to sort of sign out of Game Pass and then sign back in, even if you have everything installed. I still can't figure out how to get it working on my Xbox Series, and I'm a little bit disappointed. So I've sort of given up on Call of Duty 6, on Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7, which, to be fair, I wanted to play Black Ops 7 purely for zombies, but didn't get a chance to because of Game Pass. And one lovely thing is, with regards to Game Pass, the new Xbox CEO, who I think is doing a great job, Asha Sharma, I think she's doing a great job. I was a little bit skeptical because she came from an AI background and she wants to tap into that whole AI market. And I'm not a fan of that, especially in games. I don't think we should have AI. Although there are some very interesting uses of AI. I know Pragmata has been using it specifically for Diana with her kids' drawings. It's purely done by AI. It's not even done by a kid. But I thought that was a very interesting use of it, though, considering the theme of the game and whatnot. But that's besides the point. I don't think we should be seeing more AI in games. And I'm talking about artificial intelligence in the sense of, ChatGPT and Gemini and things like that. Language learning models and like generative models and things like that. I'm not talking about AI that we see in games as in like the computer, right? That's what I mean. So when I'm talking about AI, I'm talking about those generative models, not talking about classic sort of AI in games. Now, it's very interesting that she came in and she sorted it all out. And I'm still a little bit skeptical. I'm still skeptical. Why? Because, yeah, we lowered the price of Game Pass, but it only went back to what it used to be. It's not a true price reduction. It's just going back to what it used to be before Call of Duty was on Game Pass. Call of Duty is still going to be on Game Pass, but it's not going to be day one. It's going to be a year after. Now, I kind of think what's the point of it coming after a year? Because what's going to happen is it like people are going to jump on that game when there's a new Call of Duty out? That doesn't work, right? Unless they change the release schedule of Call of Duty. Unless they make it a 2-year lifespan, which genuinely, I think you could push Call of Duty for at least 2 years. I don't think it needs to be a 1 year, one and done, and that's it. I think you can at least push 2 years from a Call of Duty game. Or, in general, just have it as Call of Duty. I don't know why we need like constant things. Like, why can't we have Call of Duty kind of similar to like something like Overwatch or Marvel Rivals, right? Where you have seasons and it's just one Call of Duty game, and then you have different seasons with new guns, new maps, and blah, 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 every couple of years. I think that'd be cool. Anyway, besides the point. So Call of Duty is going to be back on Game Pass at the end of its final season, presumably. And yeah, that leaves a lot to be desired with Game Pass, because at the moment, I don't really use Game Pass. And what do I used to use it for? I used to use it for Yakuza. There was a lot of Yakuza games on Game Pass. I used to use it for Persona. There was a lot of Persona games on Game Pass. And Sega have been very good with support on Game Pass. So has Koei Tecmo for the most part. I mean, with Ninja Gaiden, I think Ninja Gaiden 4 was a day one Game Pass pickup, I believe. I didn't pick it up on Game Pass. I actually bought a physical disc on the PlayStation 4 because that's where I get most of my games. People need to realize I own an Xbox Series, and I own a Nintendo Switch 2, and I own a Nintendo Switch 1. I own a PC, but the reason why is so that I have access to everything. So in case I ask for a code, and there have been a lot of occasions in which I've asked for a code for one console and they're like, sorry, we don't have a PS5 code, but we have Xbox codes. Would you want that? And I've accepted because I have an Xbox. So that's the reason why I have an Xbox, to be fair with you. The more truthful reason as well, and the reason that I kind of hide away from myself because it's a little bit embarrassing, and it might link onto the next episode that we will do on GALP. I bought an Xbox to play SSX 3. And you could argue I could have bought an Xbox One to do that, but I saw the prices of Xbox Ones and they're not available really in where I live for a decent price. I was like, oh, you know what? I'll buy a series and I'll download SSX 3, which is an original Xbox game. It's not even a 360 game. And I'll play that there with backwards compatibility in 4K. Fantastic game. And Microsoft, I think, helped bring that game back from the dead effectively, because I believe EA lost source code and stuff like that. That's why you can't play Tricky anymore, at least digitally and stuff like that. So yeah, it's my SSX console. I've also got SSX 2012, which I do own. as a disc, and it is backwards compatible. So I pop that in from time to time. And yeah, that's literally the reason I bought an Xbox. But then searching into Game Pass, there's other reasons as well, like Forza Horizon. I've been playing a lot of Forza Horizon 5, Forza Horizon 4. I think I can't remember if Horizon 4 was set in the UK, but I've been playing the one that was set in the UK because it's really fun. I'm excited for the new Forza Horizon 6, which is set in Tokyo. And yeah, I'm excited to do that. And I'm also excited to play Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's a bit of a weird one, but I thought, oh, you know what? It's on Game Pass, so I'll play it because the actual game is really expensive. Like £99. It's like, geez, I'm not going to pay that much money for a flight sim that I'll play once or twice. But there are a lot of people that really get into it. Anyway, besides the point, there is a lot of value with Game Pass, and especially with Ultimate, because you get everything. You get Ubisoft titles on there with Ubisoft Play. You get EA titles, or is it EA Play? I can't remember. I think it's Ubisoft Plus and EA Play. I think that's the name of those services, but they basically give you access to those libraries, especially the older games. Like for example, if you want to play that parkour game, I can't even remember the name of it. Mirror's Edge, I believe. That's stuck under EA, so if you want to play that, or if you want to play all of the old Assassin's Creed games, they've got it on Game Pass. Even the more up-to-date Assassin's Creed games, they've got it on Game Pass as well through Game Pass Ultimate. So yeah, and that's not to say that other services like PlayStation, with I believe the highest PlayStation Plus tier, you do also get access to all of these other games as well through the same services. So I just find that it's a better value proposition with Game Pass, in my personal opinion. So another thing that Asha Sharma has included with Game Pass, or has been discussing with regard to Game Pass, is the ability to chop and change Game Pass according to what you want. So if you don't want the Fortnite team stuff, you can remove that and potentially get a lower price on your Game Pass. If you only want Xbox titles and you don't want EA or Ubisoft titles, then I presume you can cut that out and get a lower price on Game Pass, you know, which I think would be really cool if you only wanted particular games on there. I don't think they'll do that, because I think if too much chopping and changing might cause a bit of an issue with Game Pass, because then it's like, what's left? You might as well just have like an Xbox Live Gold membership at that point. But I think that's quite interesting. Are they going to give us an opportunity to potentially even add back Call of Duty as a day one title? Are there, like, for example, optional day one titles that you can add on to your Game Pass that increase your membership for that month? I think that would be very interesting. And I think it's kind of going back onto the whole digital blockbuster thing that I sort of mentioned a few episodes ago, where that's what I kind of feel like Game Pass has sort of become, or where I want to see it be, where it's basically game rentals. Like, you know, at the moment you're paying that subscription and you have unlimited access to those games within that subscription. But what if you wanted games that weren't on Game Pass? Maybe you can add a rental fee. I think that would be kind of cool for maybe like a month or whatever. Add a rental fee, and then after that month you lose access to that game. And that might piss off some people, but I guess, well, if you had PlayStation Plus for a month and you were playing a game and you lost access, well, you got to renew again. So I think there are things like that. And I think the idea of digital rental for games is an interesting one. It just needs to be done right. And I don't know if Xbox are planning to do it, but it kind of feels like they are. I mean, there was this whole campaign that anything's an Xbox, or Xbox Play Anywhere or whatever. I don't like the idea of that. And, you know, the new CEO has said, well, we're cutting that whole idea back. But there is a new Xbox dashboard for PC. We still don't know if we're going to see Game Pass make its way over to Switch, which would be very interesting. And yeah, there is a lot of devices that can basically play Xbox games that are basically PCs, because the Xbox is just a PC, and so is the PlayStation 5. I don't know if people didn't realize that, because they're basically the same hardware. That's why games are so much easier to port nowadays than back in the day. Anyway, that's been my thoughts on Microsoft's new CEO, Asha Sharma. Great CEO. I want to see more. I want to see what more she can do in terms of Xbox, and to sort of revive this dying brand, because I kind of feel like it is. And we'll probably talk about that on a future episode in terms of console wars, because I do miss them and I want to talk about that. And yeah, and the future of COD. I'm excited for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. Yeah, Anyway, we'll see you guys in the next episode of GALP.